Have you ever heard someone say, that's protected by free speech? Or maybe, you can't say that. The truth is, most Americans have at least some misunderstanding about what the First Amendment actually protects. So today, let's break it down. What free speech really means, what the government can and cannot restrict, and why the First Amendment remains one of the most important and controversial parts of the U.S. Constitution. The First Amendment was ratified in 1791 as part of the Bill of Rights. It begins with one of the most famous lines in American history: Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. At its core, the First Amendment is designed to limit government power. That's important. The First Amendment generally protects people from government punishment for their speech. It does not mean that every opinion is protected anywhere, that private companies must publish your views, or other people have to agree with you. The Constitution mainly refrains the government, not private individuals or organizations. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions about free speech is that belief that all speech is absolutely protected. It's not. The Supreme Court has recognized several narrow categories of speech that can legally be restricted. For example, true threats, direct incitement to violence, defamation, certain forms of fraud, and obscenity. A person cannot legally walk into a crowded theater and deliberately cause panic by falsely yelling fire. That famous example comes from an early Supreme Court case discussing the limits of free speech during wartime. Similarly, speech intended to provoke immediate violence may lose constitutional protections. But, and this is important, the standard is actually very high. In the United States, speech is generally protected even when it is offensive, unpopular, controversial, or emotionally upsetting. That strong protection is one reason American free speech laws are broader than those in many other countries. One of the most important ideas behind free speech is the concept known as the marketplace of ideas. The idea is that in a free society, people should be allowed to debate, criticize, challenge, and discuss ideas openly, even bad ones. Why? Because allowing government officials to decide which opinions are acceptable can become dangerous very quickly. The founders of the Constitution understood something important. Governments naturally tend to protect themselves from criticism. That's one reason political speech receives some of the strongest constitutional protections. In fact, the Supreme Court has repeatedly ruled that criticism of public officials and government institutions lies at the heart of the First Amendment. Now let's talk about something modern Americans debate constantly: social media. Many people ask, if a social media company removes my post, is that a First Amendment violation? Well, usually the answer is no. Again, the First Amendment primarily limits government action. Private companies, including social media platforms, generally have their own rights to moderate content on their services. That doesn't mean people can't debate whether those decisions are fair, but constitutionally speaking, private moderation and government censorship are very different things. That distinction matters. Another important topic is symbolic speech. The First Amendment protects more than just spoken or written words. Courts have ruled that many forms of symbolic expression can also receive constitutional protection. Examples of this would include wearing protest armbands, displaying signs, flag burning, and peaceful demonstrations. Some of these actions are deeply unpopular, but constitutional rights often become most important when speech is controversial. Protecting only speech that everyone likes wouldn't require much constitutional protection at all. At the same time, free speech does not eliminate consequences. A person may have a constitutional right to express an opinion, but they could still face criticism, social backlash, employment consequences, or damaged relationships. The First Amendment protects against government punishment, not necessarily public disagreement. And in a free society, other people also have free speech rights to respond. One reason free speech debates remain difficult is because Americans are constantly balancing two important values: liberty and public order. How much restriction is appropriate? Who decides? When does harmful speech become dangerous conduct? These are not always easy questions, and over the years, the Supreme Court has repeatedly adjusted legal standards as technology, culture, and society have changed. The founders could have never imagined social media, live streaming, viral misinformation, or the internet. But the constitutional principles they created still shape those debates today. At the end of the day, the First Amendment reflects a powerful idea that free people should generally be trusted to think, debate, criticize, and speak openly without fear of government punishment. That freedom can sometimes feel messy. It can create conflict. It can expose society to offensive or unpopular ideas. But many Americans believe protecting open discussion, even when uncomfortable, is essential to preserving a free society. And that's why more than 230 years after it was written, the First Amendment remains one of the most debated and important parts of the U.S. Constitution. Thanks for watching American Civics 101. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing for more discussions about constitutional rights, American government, civil liberties, and how the political system actually works. Let us know in the comments what constitutional topic should we break down next.